Bonnie and Clyde, the 10 most shocking crimes of America's most notorious outlaws.
Bonnie Parker and Clyde Barrow, a romantic couple who roamed the central United States during the Great Depression, are among America's most infamous criminal duos. Their spree of robberies and shootouts with law enforcement from 1932 to 1934 captured the nation's attention and has since become the stuff of legend. Here are 10 of their most shocking and audacious crimes, detailed to reveal the breadth of their daring escapades.
Number 1.
The murder of Deputy Malcolm Davis. On January 6, 1933, Clyde Barrow, along with Bonnie Parker and several members of their gang, were in the Oak Cliff neighborhood of Dallas, Texas, purportedly planning to meet with fellow criminals. Deputy Malcolm Davis, responding to a tip about suspicious activities, encountered the group. As he approached them to investigate, Clyde opened fire with a Browning automatic rifle, killing Davis instantly.
This incident marked Clyde's first known killing of a law enforcement officer, setting a dark precedent for the gang's violent run-ins with the law.
Deputy Davis had been with the Dallas Sheriff's Department for over a decade, making his death particularly impactful on the local law enforcement community.
Number 2. The Joplin Garage Shootout.
The gang, including Bonnie and Clyde, was hiding out in a garage apartment at 3347 1/2 Oak Ridge Drive in Joplin, Missouri. Their noisy and erratic behavior raised suspicions among the locals, who alerted the police, believing the occupants to be bootleggers or burglars.
On April 13, 1933, 5 law enforcement officers raided the apartment, resulting in a fierce shootout. 2 officers, Detective Harry McGinnis and Constable J.W. Harriman, were fatally shot. The gang escaped in a Ford the Fifth 8, leaving behind a substantial amount of weaponry, personal items, and a series of photographs. These photographs were later published, dramatically increasing the public profile of Bonnie and Clyde and contributing to their folk hero status. Number 3. The abduction of Sheriff George Kaylor. In an event that underscored their brazenness, Bonnie and Clyde, along with gang members, kidnapped Sheriff George Kaylor and his deputy near Wellington, Texas, in June 1933. The law officers were ambushed under the cover of night as Kaylor was driving. Clyde commandeered their vehicle and forced Kaylor to navigate past police roadblocks. Eventually, Kaylor and his deputy were released unharmed on a rural road near Fort Worth, Texas, approximately 100 miles away from the point of abduction. This episode exemplified the gang's willingness to use violence strategically, as they sought not just to escape capture but also to humiliate law enforcement. Number 4. The Armory Burglary.
Prior to the notorious Joplin shootout, in a strategic move to bolster their armaments, Bonnie and Clyde orchestrated a burglary at the National Guard Armory in Platteville, Illinois, during early April 1933. They managed to loot a large cache of weapons, including several Browning automatic rifles, M1911 pistols, and an assortment of shotguns and ammunition. This haul not only dramatically increased their firepower but also enabled their continued robberies and confrontations with law enforcement. The stolen weaponry would be used in numerous subsequent shootouts against police, further escalating their notoriety and the national response to their crime spree.
Number 5. The kidnapping of Joe Gunn.
In late July 1933, during a hectic escape from law enforcement, Bonnie and Clyde along with their gang crossed paths with Joe Gunn, the city marshal of El Dorado, Oklahoma. Gunn was taken hostage at gunpoint as the outlaws sought to use him as a human shield to navigate through unfamiliar territory and avoid capture. They traveled across state lines, moving through various backroads of Arkansas and Oklahoma, which complicated the pursuit efforts by local police. The gang eventually released Marshal Gunn near Eric, Oklahoma, providing him with $1, an amount that would allow him to eat a meal before parting ways. This act of kindness was peculiar, given the gang's notorious background in typical ruthlessness. It highlighted a complex psychological tactic, showing mercy to captives possibly served to confuse law enforcement and soften their public image.
Despite the danger he faced, Gunn was unharmed physically and later provided crucial information that helped in pursuing the gang. Number 6. Bank robbery in Poto, Oklahoma. The most lucrative single heist executed by Bonnie and Clyde occurred on March 15, 1934, when they, along with gang members, targeted the First National Bank in Poto, Oklahoma. After casing the bank for several days, the gang struck swiftly in the early afternoon, taking advantage of the small police force in the rural area. They managed to subdue the bank employees and escaped with approximately $4,100. The operation showcased Clyde's strategic planning skills and his understanding of timing, geography, and local law enforcement routines. The money fueled the gang's operations by allowing them to lay low for a while, as well as to purchase more arms and supplies necessary for their continued robberies and skirmishes with the police. This heist marked one of the high points in Bonnie and Clyde's criminal careers, demonstrating their audacity and capability in pulling off major robberies. Number 7. The Grapevine Murders. On April 1, 1934, one of the most infamous and brutal acts committed by Bonnie and Clyde occurred near Grapevine, Texas, now called Southlake. They encountered two young highway patrolmen, H.D. Murphy and Edward Bryan Wheeler, at a spot popular among local officers for taking breaks. Without warning, Clyde and another gang member, Henry Methvin, opened fire on the unsuspecting officers, resulting in their immediate deaths. Witness accounts later sensationalized by the media claimed that Bonnie Parker approached the dying officers and fired more shots into them while laughing. This depiction of Bonnie as a cold-blooded killer enhanced her notoriety, but has been contested over time by researchers who suggest that she was actually sitting in the car during the shootout. Number 8. Ambush and murder of Constable William Cal Campbell. On April 6, 1934, a violent encounter unfolded in Miami, Oklahoma, that further demonstrated the lethal resolve of Bonnie and Clyde. The duo, along with gang member Henry Methvin, ambushed a party of lawmen who had set up a roadblock in an attempt to capture the outlaws. Among those caught in the ambush was Constable William Cal Campbell, a respected local officer. As the officers approached the car believed to be carrying the outlaws, Clyde and Methvin opened fire, killing Constable Campbell instantly. In the chaos, Police Chief Percy Boyd was captured and taken hostage. Boyd was later released on a rural road outside Miami. Clyde had given him a clean shirt and a few dollars, presumably to ensure his basic needs were met and perhaps to curry public favor by showing mercy. This incident added to the notoriety of Bonnie and Clyde, highlighting their willingness to kill when cornered and their sporadic gestures of goodwill towards some of their captives. Number 9. The Red Crown Tavern Shootout. The Red Crown Tavern Shootout in Platte City, Missouri, marked a significant confrontation for Bonnie and Clyde on July 20, 1933. Law enforcement, alerted to their suspicious presence, surrounded the tourist camp where the gang was staying. The police used tear gas to flush them out, leading to an intense gunfight. Despite heavy gunfire, Bonnie and Clyde escaped in the chaos, although Clyde's brother, Buck Barrow, was critically injured and later died from his wounds. This incident depleted the gang's ranks and left behind a trail of evidence, which included weapons and personal items that further aided the police in their manhunt. This shootout significantly weakened Bonnie and Clyde's operational capacity and marked the beginning of the end for the infamous duo. Number 10. Their final ambush and death. The criminal careers of Bonnie and Clyde came to an abrupt and violent end on May 23, 1934, near Sales, Bienville Parish, Louisiana. A posse led by former Texas Ranger Frank Hamer, who had been tracking the couple for months, set up an ambush on a rural road where Bonnie and Clyde were expected to travel. As the couple appeared in their Ford the 5.8, the posse, hiding in the bushes, opened fire with a barrage of bullets, including armor-piercing rounds intended to penetrate the car's reinforced body. Approximately 130 shots were fired in the ambush, killing Bonnie and Clyde instantly. Their bodies were found riddled with bullets, marking a gruesome end to their 2-year spree of robbery and murder. This final ambush was the result of meticulous planning involving cooperation across state lines and detailed intelligence gathering. Hamer had studied the couple's movements and strategically chose the ambush site to minimize the outlaws' chances of escape. This marked the end of one of the most notorious criminal partnerships in American history, bringing relief to law enforcement and the public alike.